She says it out loud and the room goes quiet. Jenny is done. She is leaving India for good. Not a visit, not a pause. Forever. And the shock is not the suitcase. The shock is the calm in her voice. This is the moment everything snaps, because this choice was never part of the plan Sumit kept selling. 1 month under his parents' roof and something inside her shuts off. No more waiting, no more shrinking, no more asking permission to exist inside her own marriage. People expected tears. They got clarity, and clarity scares systems built on silence. If love was real, why did survival feel like the full-time job? This decision did not start today, and the reason will change how this story looks forever. To understand why this moment hits so hard, you have to rewind. Jenny and Sumit did not show up overnight. This story stretched across years, seasons, and excuses. An American woman moving across the world for love, a younger guy standing up to tradition. That was the pitch viewers were trained to clap for. Endurance, every obstacle became proof they were meant to last. Age gap drama, secret marriage, family blow-ups. Each time, the takeaway stayed the same. Look how much they survived. And sure, there were sweet moments, awkward jokes, that nervous laugh Sumit does when tension fills the room. Jenny smiling through discomfort like patience was a badge of honor. The show framed it as loyalty. Fans repeated it online. If she stayed through all that, love must be real. That story worked for a long time. Long enough for warning signs too. Feel normal. The relationship started running on delay mode. Every problem came with a promise. Give it time. Things will ease up. Acceptance will follow. Jenny learned to wait. Sumit learned to stall. And nobody called it out because the narrative felt romantic. Two people against the world, except the world never felt pushed back. Jenny did. There was humor in it too. The kind you laugh at because the alternative feels heavy. Watching Jenny try to fit into spaces never built for her. Watching Sumit nod along to everyone, switching tone depending on who sat in front of him. It felt messy but familiar. Plenty of couples juggle family pressure. Plenty of people compromise for love. The difference sat in who paid the price. Over time, survival replaced growth. Staying became the goal. Peace meant silence, and every season trained viewers to cheer patience without asking what patience cost her. The part everyone missed is how long this pattern stayed invisible. Then came the move into his parents' house. Framed as progress, a step toward unity, the final hurdle before acceptance. On paper, it sounded hopeful. In real life, it turned into a pressure cooker. Shared walls, shared rules, no escape. That move did not fix cracks, it squeezed them. And that is where this story stopped being about love surviving everything and started revealing what it had been surviving all along. Living under his parents' roof changed the temperature of everything. The cameras showed calm faces and polite words, yet tension sat in every corner. Rules floated through the house without being written down. When to wake, when to eat, where to sit, how long a conversation should last. None of those rules came from Jenny. Every move carried weight. Every pause felt observed. Privacy shrank fast. Marriage started feeling like a visitor badge with an expiration date. Silence did most of the work. No shedding, no dramatic scenes. Every hour, control stayed soft and steady. A look across the room, a reminder dressed up as advice, respect framed as obedience. Jenny moved through each day carefully, like someone trying not to knock over fragile glass. This was not partnership energy. This was guest energy. And guests follow house rules. What made the atmosphere heavier was how normal everything looked on the surface. Meals happened. Conversations stayed polite. Smiles appeared when expected. That surface calm fooled plenty of viewers, yet discomfort lived underneath. Jenny lost small freedoms first. Choice of routine, choice of space, choice of rest. Those losses piled up. Autonomy faded quietly. The show never needed raised voices to show pressure. Body language did enough. Jenny often sat smaller, hands folded, eyes lowered. Laughter sounded delayed. Meanwhile, the household moved around her with confidence. This was familiar territory for everyone else inside those walls. Jenny stood outside tradition while living inside tradition. The harm came from constant monitoring disguised as courtesy, not from loud conflict. What made the situation sting deeper was the lack of refuge. Earlier living setups gave Jenny breathing room. A private space offered relief. Under his parents' roof, relief disappeared. Every room carried expectation. Even quiet moments felt public. Being alone stopped existing. Through all of this, Sumit played the middle. He listened, he nodded, he reassured, off camera and on camera. Words stayed gentle. Promises floated often. Adjustment takes time. Things will settle. Everyone means well. Those lines sounded soothing at first. Over time, reassurance without. Movement started feeling empty. Sumit rarely challenged rules directly. Family comfort stayed protected. Jenny absorbed discomfort instead. This pattern repeated. Jenny raised concern. Sumit calmed emotions. Action paused. Time passed. The house remained unchanged. That rhythm drained energy faster than open conflict ever could. Viewers watched a woman adapt again and again. Adaptation looked noble on screen. Endurance earned praise. Yet endurance without power erodes confidence. The longer Jenny stayed quiet, the louder the environment felt. By the end of that month, tension stopped hiding. The house did not break. The marriage in one dramatic moment. The house revealed the cost of staying silent, and behind every polite interaction sat one truth waiting for daylight. Sumit kept offering comfort. Leadership stayed absent. The next move depended on whether reassurance would finally turn into action. Watching Sumit move through this moment felt familiar because he had been doing it for years. The tone changed depending on the room. With Jenny, he sounded understanding. Soft voice, calm promises. With his parents, he sounded careful, respectful, non-confrontational. With the audience, he sounded hopeful, like balance was still possible if everyone stayed patient. None of those versions matched fully. Each one served a purpose, and none of them required a decision. This pattern kept repeating. Jenny shared discomfort. Sumit acknowledged feelings. He asked for time. Time passed. Nothing shifted. Waiting became the strategy. Waiting protected him from conflict. Waiting protected family peace. Waiting cost Jenny more each season. The longer this went on, the heavier the price became. From the outside, avoidance looked gentle. He was not yelling. He was not forcing ultimatums. He was not storming out. That made the behavior easy to excuse. People labeled him stuck, caught in the middle, torn between love and duty. Those descriptions sounded kind. They also hit something important. Choosing nothing still chooses something. Fair-minded truth matters here. Cultural pressure runs deep. Standing up to parents carries real consequences. Family bonds matter. Respect holds weight. That reality deserves space. Yet pressure does not erase responsibility. Marriage changes the math. Commitment demands action. Avoiding choice keeps one person comfortable while another carries the strain. Each promise of future change extended the cycle. Give it time. They will soften. Things will improve. Those words delayed pain rather than solved it. And every delay taught Jenny the same lesson. Her discomfort ranked lower than everyone else's comfort. That realization did not arrive all at once. It crept in slowly. Waiting stopped feeling hopeful and started feeling like surrender. Sumit seemed convinced patience would save everyone. The belief sounded optimistic. In practice, patience only worked because Jenny stayed flexible. Her silence held the system together. The moment silence cracked, the system shook. The audience saw flashes of this before. Small moments where Sumit paused instead of stepping forward. Moments where reassurance replaced action. Each time, viewers moved on because the story promised progress later. Later kept slipping. What made this phase different was exhaustion. Jenny no longer asked how long change would take. She started noticing how long she had already waited. Years stacked up. Promises repeated. Living under his parents' roof removed distractions. There was nowhere else to place blame. No travel excuses. No external delays. Only patterns. This is where hope quietly lost its grip. Not through anger, not through drama, through clarity. Jenny began to see waiting as a choice she was actively making. And once she saw that, staying stopped feeling like loyalty. It started feeling optional. The breaking point did not arrive with shouting, it arrived with fatigue, the kind that sits in your chest and never leaves. Jenny looked tired in a way sleep does not fix. Anxiety showed up in small ways, short breaths, long pauses, a distant stare when rooms filled with voices speaking around her instead of to her. Living inside that house made every feeling louder. There was no space to reset. No corner that belonged to her alone. Over time, exhaustion turned inward. She stopped reacting first. She stopped explaining herself twice. She started listening to her own thoughts instead of managing everyone else's comfort. The anxiety had a message. Something was wrong. And it was not temporary. Staying silent no longer felt noble. It felt damaging. Jenny had carried the relationship for a long time. She adjusted, she waited, she reassured herself. Each compromise looked small in isolation. Together, they erased pieces of her day by day. What shook her was not anger from others. It was the steady requirement to absorb discomfort without response. That demand wore her down. There is a moment when endurance stops feeling brave and starts feeling unsafe. Jenny reached that moment quietly. No fireworks, no dramatic speech. Clarity arrived instead. She saw the pattern clearly. Nothing shifted because nothing forced it to shift. Her patience kept everything stable. Stability served everyone else. Anxiety sharpened that clarity. Nights grew restless. Thoughts looped. If nothing changes here, nothing changes anywhere. That idea landed hard. It removed fantasy. It removed hope built on delay. It left one choice. The most dangerous move here was not leaving. It was seeing the truth clearly. Once that thought settled, things moved fast internally. Jenny realized she had been negotiating against herself, asking for permission to feel hurt, waiting for approval to exist fully. That realization hurt more than any argument. It reframed years of compromise into something else entirely. She did not need another conversation to confirm it. The environment already answered every question. Her voice ranked lowest. Her comfort stayed optional. Her presence came with conditions. Accepting those terms meant shrinking forever. The exhaustion became resolve. Anxiety turned into focus. Silence became a decision rather than a defense. Jenny understood one hard truth. Nothing changes unless someone stops absorbing the damage. And she knew who had been absorbing it all along. This clarity did not bring relief yet. It brought gravity. Because the next step would break the story everyone believed in. And once she said the words out loud, there would be no walking back. The house held its usual quiet tension until Jenny spoke. Not quietly, but with controlled certainty. She said she was leaving India permanently. The words landed like a thunderclap in a room. Conditioned for politeness. No yelling, no slammed doors, just truth spoken out loud. Everything shifted immediately. The walls seemed smaller, every gaze fixed, every expectation exposed. The rules that had guided her life for months collapsed in a single sentence. Sumit froze first. The soft reassurances he had practiced for years faltered. He looked at her, and for a moment, the careful middle ground vanished. His parents reacted next. Politeness gave way to visible discomfort. Faces tightened, gestures became sharper. The calm atmosphere cracked. Respect clashed with authority. Hierarchy collided with independence. Jenny stood firm. She was no longer the patient observer. She was the agent of her own life. The confrontation was not loud, but it carried weight far beyond what volume could produce. Her presence had been monitored. Her choices questioned, her autonomy reduced. Now every gaze she had absorbed, every subtle reminder that she was a guest in her own marriage, was met with a boundary she refused to cross. Control met its first active resistance. Sumit oscillated between his usual reassurances and something heavier. His voice carried guilt, frustration, and shock. He asked questions, tried to reason, reminded her of obligations, hinted at shared history. All of it revealed patterns, Comfort prioritized over action, diplomacy over decision, avoiding family conflict over protecting partnership. The audience watching saw a man confronted by the cost of inaction. The parents' response reinforced what she already knew. They treated her announcement as unacceptable, tradition framed as unyielding expectation, compliance demanded, negotiation refused. Jenny's decision challenged not just Sumit but the system that had relied on her patience to function. That system pushed back immediately. Every word from the parents was a test. Every pause, a check of hierarchy. Jenny did not flinch. Calm clarity replaced the anxiety that had shattered her for months. She repeated her position with measured certainty. Independence radiated in her stance, in her voice, in the space she finally claimed. For the first time, the rules favored no one else. The question now hangs in the air. Will Sumit meet her courage with his own? Or will fear dictate the next move? Once the episode aired, the online chatter exploded. Jenny's decision sparked everything from sympathy to debate. Some viewers applauded her courage. Finally, a woman refused to disappear for love. Comments praised her clarity, her refusal to compromise her identity. Fans shared memories of past seasons, pointing out moments where patience had been celebrated but autonomy had been ignored. For them, this was long overdue. Others defended Sumit. They argued he was caught between duty and desire, trying to honor family while keeping his marriage afloat. They noted cultural pressures, the weight of parental expectations, and the difficulty of confronting entrenched traditions. Some said patience was virtue. That leaving now felt abrupt, even unfair. A faction suggested the problem wasn't love, but timing. The conversation split the audience, and that division revealed something deeper. Many assumed this was about romance, that love alone could solve the challenges. But watching online, people started questioning what survival actually meant. Did enduring conflict silently count as love, or did it signal something else? Jenny's story forced viewers to confront that uncomfortable answer. Sacrifice, not love, had been the backbone of this marriage. Every adjustment she made, every step she took to avoid friction, every compromise without reciprocity stacked up like invisible debt. Fans started naming moments they had shared that, in hindsight, looked like small concessions she made at the expense of herself. It also invited fairness towards Sumit. He had been managing 3 narratives at once. What his parents expected, what Jenny hoped for, and what the show wanted the audience to see. That balancing act made him look indecisive, but it also highlighted the pressure he lived under. Avoidance may have seemed neutral, but it was never without consequence. What would you do in her place? Could you stay under that level of control, even with love at the center? Or is leaving the only way to reclaim your voice? By the end, the story needed reframing. This was never simply about cross-cultural romance. It was about endurance, negotiation, and the human cost of keeping the peace. Jenny's departure reframed the narrative from a defiant love story into a tale of one person finally refusing to carry the weight of the relationship alone. What appeared as a shocking exit was, in reality, the reveal of years of silent compromise and sacrifice finally reaching its limit. Jenny's preparation to leave was quiet but deliberate. No fanfare, no dramatic packing montage. Every small action, booking arrangements, reaching out to contacts back home, arranging a place to stay reflected thought, not impulse. She had been here before, adjusting, compromising, waiting. This time, she was moving with purpose. Each step was a claim on her own life, a rejection of the silent compromises that had defined years. Sumit, on the other hand, began to spiral. The carefully maintained middle ground collapsed. The illusion that he could serve both his parents and his wife evaporated. Every reassurance he had offered lost weight. He pleaded. He questioned. He tried to negotiate time that no longer existed. Watching him, it became clear that the real crisis was not love lost, but indecision exposed. Every choice he avoided now demanded its cost in full. The tension between them became almost tangible. Jenny's clarity cut through the fog of years where patience disguised erasure. Sumit's hesitation only amplified the reality that the system he relied on, his silence, the waiting, the balancing had failed. This was not an abrupt finale. The breaking point had been years in the making. Living under his parents' roof had only accelerated what was inevitable. Fans had cheered patience for years, mistaking endurance for strength. Jenny's exit revealed the truth. Survival is not the same as partnership. Her move was not rebellion. It was recognition. She had absorbed enough damage. She had waited long enough. The preparation itself became a statement, a silent lecture on the cost of compromise without reciprocity. The part most people miss is that the clarity itself, the decision, the calm resolve is the dramatic pivot. Leaving is only the physical step. Choosing oneself is the real climax. In the background, Sumit faced the reckoning of his own making. The gap between intention and action could no longer be masked. He had promised, reassured, and delayed all, while the marriage absorbed the weight. Now, the consequence of waiting landed fully. Every argument postponed, every promise deferred, every attempt to balance comfort and duty converged into a single moment of accountability. For Jenny, there was relief and grief tangled together. Relief in reclaiming space, identity, and agency. Grief for what could have been if partnership had been reciprocal. The narrative of romance had given way to the story of endurance ending. And in that ending, both were left to confront the truth. When compromise stops serving both, survival alone cannot sustain love. Jenny walked away without applause, without drama, but with everything she had been quietly reclaiming for years. This was survival, not failure. Each step back toward America was a declaration. Your love cannot demand my silence. Your tradition cannot erase my voice. She left behind more than a house. She left behind the version of herself that had been shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. Sumit's future remained suspended in that quiet chaos. Would he confront his own patterns and face the cost of indecision, or would fear of conflict continue to dictate his life? The answer was not clear, and that uncertainty made the moment linger. His struggle was no longer about romance or loyalty alone. It was about accountability, about seeing what years of avoidance had done to the very relationship he tried to preserve. For viewers, the takeaway stretched beyond this one story. Love can survive challenges, but it cannot survive constant self-erasure. Endurance may look like strength, but when it comes at the cost of identity, it is a warning. Jenny's choice reminds us that agency and respect are not negotiable. Relationships thrive not when one person sacrifices endlessly, but when both carry the weight together. And yet, the show keeps circling back to the same tension. Patterns repeat, dynamics reappear, and the lessons Jenny's story illustrates are about to play out again, just with a different couple, in a different setting, but with the same stakes. Next time, we will see someone else face the pressure of compromise, tradition, and delayed clarity. The question will remain the same. When does patience stop being loyalty? And when does it become the end of the story? The stage is set. The tension is high, and the cycle is about to turn again.